Ah, you're underway.
Yes.
Good luck.
Fantastic.
My dad.
Six will stand on the
There, boys, wait for me, please.
How you doing? Absolutely. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Welcome. Thank you. Hey guys, how you doing down there? Hi. Good. All right. Are we ready? We're ready.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Can you hear me? Well, it turned out to be a real nice day, and I can't thank every one of you for being here today to welcome Tagg Romney to Fayette County. Fayette County has been very supportive of the Republican Party over the years, and it's obvious today with the turnout that we will continue to have that kind of turnout. And at this time, I'd like to turn over to you our State Senator, Bob Peterson, who will continue with the program. Bob?
I'm so glad you all came here to see me.
That's right.
I've got a 15-minute speech prepared. Seriously, I am excited to be here to introduce to you Tagg Romney. Mitt and Ann Romney's oldest son, a family man. You know, he has done something his father never did. He had a daughter. But he also has 5 boys. And the stories he can tell about his family and about his family growing up, there's no doubt that you spend a little bit of time and he shares some of the stories. You will know the character of Mitt Romney, not just the man Mitt Romney. So without any further ado, Tagg Romney. Welcome to Fayette County.
Thank you. Wow, it is an honor to be here with you. You know, they told me there would be a couple dozen people here. They need to learn to count. There's a lot. It's such an honor to have so many people here and come out and listen to me brag about my dad. I have to tell you, I'm not going to be unbiased and tell you a few stories. The reason, well, by the way, I should mention, my wife is an angel. He mentioned that I have 6 children. My 2 youngest are 4 months old. And so my wife is at home taking care of those guys for me. And I asked her if it was okay if I spent the next couple weeks out here talking for my dad. And it's a lot for her to be back at home with all those kids without any help. But she said, this is so important, you got to get out there and do this. Yeah. That's the most important thing you can do for our kids. Is give that election. You know, I assume all of you know how good of a business guy my dad was, so I'm not going to talk to you about that. I think most of you know how good of a job he did as governor of Massachusetts. Took over a state. By the way, it's tough for a Republican to win as governor of Massachusetts. The reason he was able to, Massachusetts had a $3 billion budget deficit, and the Democrat who was running had a plan to turn that around. Anyone want to guess what that plan was? Raise taxes, yeah. Surprise, surprise. And my dad said, you know, we can get that done without raising taxes. We're going to, in fact, we're going to cut taxes, and we're going to reduce spending. Well, the Boston Globe said, you know, that's not responsible of you. You know, that's anyone that can do math knows if you cut taxes, you're not going to be able to fix the deficit. My dad said, no, you know what? We're going to cut taxes. We're going to cut spending. And at the end of his 4 years there, he left. He cut taxes 19 times and left with a $2 billion rainy day fund, and which the Democrat has now spent his way all the way through. But I don't want to talk to you about his time as governor. But the Olympics, I think you all know how good of a job he did at the Olympics. Took a situation there. Yep. Put on an amazing games. Took over when he took over. They had a $400 million deficit there. Left it with a $100 million surplus. That doesn't happen in Olympics. You don't typically run surpluses in Olympics. My dad knows how to fix things. That's what he's good at. That's what he's done his whole life. But rather than tell you stories about that, I thought I'd tell you a story or two about my dad, who he is, and something I think I could tell him as his son. A lot of people say, you know, how come your dad doesn't talk more about all the good that he's done for people? And it's because he was taught as a boy that that's not what you do. when you do good things for people, you just let the actions speak for themselves. You don't go around bragging about them. And that's why I'm here today, so I can brag for them. Let me tell you a story about, well, two quick stories. I don't know, how many of you heard the convention in Tampa a couple weeks ago? Yeah. There was when I was 10 years old, there was a family in our church. Pat and Ted Oporowski. He was a firefighter at the time. Lived in Medford, Massachusetts, which is, by the way, I still live in Massachusetts, so don't hold that against me. And there, I was 10. They had a boy 4 years older than I was, David Oporowski, who came down with cancer. Was diagnosed with cancer. And my dad took me and my 4 younger brothers over to their house on a very regular basis for the next 6 months as he struggled with that disease. And we spent time with him. My dad was in and out of the hospital with their family. David knew that my dad had gone to both business school and law school and asked my dad if he would help him write a will, which is a horrible thing to have to do for a 14-year-old boy.
Great story, now everybody can hear it.
Sorry, is that better? So at the end of the, David unfortunately passed away. My dad gave his eulogy at his funeral and supported his family. It was amazing at the convention to see Pat and Ted, who I've not seen in about 20 years, stand up and talk about the support that my dad gave to their family. That's the type of person that he is. I think the Democrats and some of the mainstream media want to paint my dad as someone that he's not. I'm here to tell you that in addition to being a really good business guy, a really good governor, a really good head of the Olympics, he's also a really good man. Let me just thank you. Sorry about that. First time using a bullhorn on one of these things. I'm okay. So let me tell just one personal story that I like to tell. So if you've heard it before, I apologize. But I was 16 years old, and we had a small cottage on Cape Cod. And one of my favorite activities was to go fishing. And we had a small little rowboat, little red dinghy that I would take out. And this particular Saturday afternoon, I took it out, threw the anchor off the front of the boat, and dropped my fishing line off the back. And I think I caught 2 or 3 fish that day. Their size has gone up, and as the years have gone on, my memory of them has gone up. But after about 45 minutes of fishing, I realized I had drifted quite a ways off from where I'd started. And so I turned around to check the anchor line. And as I did that, I remembered that I had forgotten to tie the rope to the anchor, to the front of the boat. And so I just thrown the anchor into the ocean and turned around, and it was somewhere a long ways off from where I'd started. And so I rowed back into shore, brought the fish in and showed my dad the fish, and then I kind of muttered under my breath, by the way, I lost the anchor. And I just kind of thought he'd forget it. Well, he looked at me and he said, well, go back out and find it. And that was my reaction as well. I kind of laughed at him, and I said, well, that's a stupid idea. I'm not going to go do that. It's the Atlantic Ocean. You can't find an anchor in the Atlantic Ocean. And now my daughter is 17, and if she were to talk to me that way, I think I'd probably not be very happy with her. He was probably not very happy with me, but instead of getting mad at me, he took me down to the beach. We got in that red rowboat together. We rowed out. He asked me where I lost it, and I kind of said, out there somewhere, and being as unhelpful as I could be. And but then we rowed out, and he found 2 points of land on the shore and said, we're going to use those as our reference points, and he taught me how to do a grid search. And we went back and forth, up and down one way and back and forth the other. And after about 30 to 40 minutes of looking for that anchor, we found it. And it was not very deep there. It was about 8 feet deep, so the rope was floating up. My dad dove down, pulled it up, and brought it in. Rather than the lecture that I was expecting, I think my dad had learned the lesson that's taken me a long time as a dad to learn, which is kids learn better when you don't give them the lecture than sometimes when you do.
By example.
Yeah, but you learn by example. I learned a couple lessons that day. The first lesson I learned was that it is true that my dad is the cheapest human being alive. This was a $5 dinghy anchor that could have easily been replaced with a quick trip to the Ace Hardware store. Would have been a lot quicker than searching around out in the Buzzards Bay for it. He hates wasting money. It drives him crazy. It drives him crazy in our house if someone leaves the water running too long or leaves the fridge door open without closing it. It drove him crazy as governor to see taxpayer money wasted. I think we need someone like that in Washington who's going to... who wants to cut spending. You know, we have $16 trillion of debt right now in this nation. It's immoral what we're passing on to the next generation. The second lesson I learned on that rowboat that day was that my dad really genuinely believes that with a little bit of ingenuity and a whole lot of hard work, you can do really tough things, that there's no challenge too great to be overcome. And he's shown that in his life over and over again. In every instance he's been in, just because things get tough or people say you can't do it that way, it just makes him get mad and roll up his sleeves and get to work harder. And, you know, again, I think we need someone in Washington who's not going to give up, who's going to roll up his sleeves and get the job done for us. The third lesson I took becoming a father myself to realize, I now realize my dad probably didn't care so much about that anchor. He was more concerned about me. He wanted to teach me a lesson about me. Hey, kids. He wanted to teach me a lesson about those first two things, hard work and ingenuity. He wanted me to learn that you don't give up on yourself and that you don't waste money just because you can. And boy, I think we need someone, again, I think we need someone like that in Washington. So I've got one last question for you, and then I'll come out and shake a few more hands. Are we going to win, Ohio? Yeah! That's what I want to hear. Let's get out there. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your help. We need you to make phone calls. We need you to talk to your neighbors. We need to win Ohio. This is a critical state. We're going to win Ohio. With your help, we can get there. So we've made 3 million voter contacts in the state already, which is unbelievable. We need to do more. So get out there, continue to talk to everybody. Vote early. I was going to say often, but the reporter's here, so I won't say that. And thanks again for your help. Thanks, everybody.